Shalom and welcome to Seekers of Meaning, the podcast and TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. I'm your host, Rabbi Richard Address. Thank you very, very much for your time and joining us today on what promises to be a challenging and maybe difficult, but very, very important conversation. Let me get right to the heart of the matter. As all of us know in the Jewish community, since October 7th, everything has changed. And now over 4 months into this war and this confrontation and the international implications of this, which we are still learning, we wanted to take the opportunity to go to Israel. We've had some domestic conversations in previous podcasts. And so to do that, we are very, very pleased and honored to welcome from Israel, Rabbi Efrat Rotem, the executive director of MARAM, which we'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, Efrat, welcome to Seekers of Meaning. I guess the obvious first question is, are you safe and are you well and your family?
Wow, thank you very much, Rabbi Address, for having me. Yes, I am safe. I live in the center of Israel, and we had many sirens, and we had to go, to the shelter from time to time. I have a partner and a 6-year-old, so it wasn't easy, but relatively we are, yes, definitely safe.
Okay, so let's get to this. What is MARAM? You are the executive director of MARAM, M-A-R-A-M. What is MARAM?
Yeah, basically, we are the Council of Reform Rabbis in Israel. If some of your listeners and viewers are familiar with the CCAR, which is the Rabbis Council in the States and North America. So we are kind of the small sister, the little sister of CCAR. And for 40 years now, we've been working to take care of Israeli rabbis, which is a lot, because first of all, we unionize our rabbis, which is important. We take care of, their employment status and everything they need in that matter. We represent them. Second to that, but sometimes more important, we are the professional community of the rabbis. So, of course, we provide continuous learning. We provide a social atmosphere where they can be together, and it's a very interesting job. It's not necessarily the easiest people, to deal with rabbis. They have a lot to say.
Really? You mean it's not just pleasant and everybody gets along and everything just rolls quietly? Just like the CCAR here in the United States.
So
ask Rabbi Person, I'm sure she'd agree with it.
Exactly. So, rabbis, they love to talk and they love to, make their opinions heard. And it's important for us. And everyone knows how everything should be run. But that's good. It's interesting for me to be working with opinionated people, with people who basically really care. So that's a plus. And I've been a congregational rabbi. I'm also an independent rabbi right now in Israel. Independent meaning I don't have a congregation, but I'm working with, a lot of, I was told that sometimes people were like, what do you mean independent rabbi? But yes, it's a thing. And so that's also something that I do. We are a small organization, so I do other things also. And also we publish sidurim, machzorim. We publish prayer books, and we publish just books that we feel are important pertaining to Jewish philosophy. All kinds of things that we believe are important. And we want also to be part of, the Hebrew, Jewish, Israeli culture, and to make our voices sound. So that's kind of what we do.
So you're ordained at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion in Yerushalayim, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
How many colleagues now are members of MARAM?
We have 120 paying members right now.
And they're all in Israel, or some of them outside of Israel? Most of them in Israel?
Definitely most in Israel. We have some who are Israelis who are serving as rabbis, mainly in North America, but also we have one in England, we have one in Costa Rica, but it's so we have people around, but it's mainly Israelis and people who are working in Israel.
Okay, so now we know what MARAM is, and that you're the executive director, and the numbers, and that most of our colleagues in MARAM are in Israel. Now, talk to me, Efrat, about the impact of the war. What are the MARAM members? How are they involved? Some of them, I'm sure, are in congregations. Some of them right now are in the IDF. What's changed with MARAM since October the 7th?
So I will try to tell you that story through what I went through a little bit, meaning that this was such a shock. And here in Israel, you could really see people starting to organize. And I don't know if you heard about this amazing wave of people volunteering and getting aid, getting food, getting clothes, getting whatever people needed to the people in the south, to the people in the north. It was astounding. But I also felt like, and it started in the morning of October 7th, like this volunteering. And I was like, wait a second, what's really needed to the people that I'm helping? What do really the rabbis need? And that's what I started just listening. And I told people, please tell me what you need. I didn't want to just do, you know what I mean? Because I felt like this overwhelming sense of helplessness that we were feeling, on October 7th. I didn't want to operate from that feeling. I wanted to really answer needs. So the first thing that people asked me was which was heartbreaking really, was to have a little, a Zoom meeting, a Zoom kind of seminar about how to lead funerals. Because we had people who are maybe younger rabbis, and they said, I didn't have a chance to do that yet. I have to remind you, right, that we are liberal rabbis in Israel, pluralist rabbis in Israel, reform rabbis in Israel. We are not part of the mainstream here, right? So we have a monopoly of the rabbinate, and it's also something that happens when people die. It's not natural that if you're the congregational rabbi of someone who died, you'll be leading the funeral. Doesn't work like that. So people were saying, please, I want to kind of relearn this. I want to go over this. And we had someone who was Rabbi Galia Sadan, who's very, I think she's 20 years a rabbi. Maybe this year will be 20 years. And so I just turned to her and I said, please, let's have a meeting. So we had 40 people in the meeting. And we had, and there were amazing questions. And really, it was about just the practicality. But as rabbis, we always look behind what's going on. So, you know what I'm saying? This was really, how do I do this? And our thoughts were racing, what we will need to do now. And I have to tell you, in terms of what our rabbis are facing, that we have a rabbi who actually was ordained last year, Rabbi David Azulai, and he's from the congregation Yozma in Modi'in, and he led 2 military funerals. So, which is very different, right, from civil. They have like a protocol, and it's not very common that they're working with a reform rabbi. So, but he said it was seamless, that the people from the military rabbinate really cooperated with him, and it was just his story, to hear his story. And we heard him also in MARAM. So he told us how it was, and we asked questions, and we were together in this. So when I'm trying to describe to you what we do, it's really about keeping the people who are doing the work. We are taking care of the caretakers, basically. We are taking care of the people who are giving spiritual assistance, giving spiritual healing or consultation, for others. And sometimes, when you're taking care of someone else, then you're forgetting yourself. So it's kind of my job and our job to say, we see you, we want to hear what you're going through. So, the burnout will be less. So you will not feel like at the end of the day that you're totally alone, that everyone turns to you, but who are you turning to? And I feel that it's an important job for our people.
Oh no, it's essential because the burnout. So describe some of the ways that you're taking care of the caregivers. Are you doing Zoom seminars? Are you doing individual consultations? I imagine you as like the head of the CCAR here, Rabbi Person, can feel overwhelmed by all of this.
Yes, of course. But I have also the chairperson of MARAM, which is Rabbi Ayala Ronen Samuels, which is really amazing. And part of what we do is have, conversations one-on-one with rabbis. And we also create, in the beginning of the war, we created opportunities for just rabbis to kind of meet and just share. And it was, of course, we brought in a professional, someone who can, handle everyone and take care of everyone and just to be able to hear what they're going through. And I have to tell you, before I'll tell you, tell you more what we're doing for them, I can tell you that we have also rabbis who were evicted from where they live. Okay, so basically, I don't know how much you know, but there's like a strip up north of basically places where people live that they were told to leave their house.
Right.
Up north, okay? Mm-hmm. Also in the south, same thing. Okay, so we have in Israel right now 100,000 people who are displaced, okay? Inside Israel. I'm not talking about Gaza, of course, which is a whole tragedy, right? So it's really something that's of course influencing congregations, right? Because we have a congregation up north, and the Rabbi Orit Rosenblit, was personally evicted, and her entire congregation, right? People are dispersed and they are all over Israel. So when she's trying to do something with them, it's one-on-one, it's via Zoom, or if they're doing something special. And so it's also, again, this pastoral care that she can offer, right? But she herself is displaced. Right? She herself, she's not at home. Like she doesn't go home at the end of anything. And it's very hard. So there's that. And we also have another rabbi who was displaced from the north, Rabbi Yael Kari. And also she's doing for her congregations, she's doing Kabbalot Shabbat wherever they live, and really working all through the north, like not as high as where you can't be, but all over the north where they are, or in the center, really. So it's something that's some congregations, even if they don't have maybe like a synagogue, because some of our congregations don't have a building of their own, but they have a heart, they have a place, right? And still, so these places right now, cannot be used. We have another rabbi, Yael Vorgan, who is the rabbi of a congregation in Sha'ar HaNegev, which is it's kind of hard to explain. It's a regional congregation, right? So it has a lot of kibbutzim and moshavim, like small towns. And so she's doing things all over the place, okay? She's doing bar mitzvot, everything that you can imagine, but in different locations every week. And so, so she has Kfar Aza in her regional council. She has a lot of places that were evicted, a lot of places that were attacked, and a lot of people were hurt or went through, this siege where there are terrorists all around the kibbutz, all around Sderot, all around Ofakim, all of the towns, and then she has to deal with that, right? Again, to support people who have family who are abducted, who are hostages in Gaza. And so this entire thing, so we have rabbis who were impacted directly, right? Their congregations were impacted directly. And we have this indirect effect where congregations just kind of disperse, and you have to hold it.
The impact of the displaced, I know that it's been reported that so many people from the north along the Lebanese area have been moved. So I imagine many, not only the colleagues who have themselves been displaced and their congregations, but other MARAM members who are working with refugees, people who have been all over the country. Efra, between, let's say, October the 8th and now, several months now, what's the difference? What's the difference in the country? What are you seeing? What are your colleagues reporting back to you?
It's a great question. I'll tell you how I see it. First of all, I have to say something that's kind of maybe hard to accept, but in many ways, October 7th is still going on.
Explain that.
Emotionally. And mainly because the people who were taken hostage, 136 people, are not back yet. Something in that event, the thing that people, whole families were killed, whole families were abducted. People, maybe some came back, but the fathers and grandfathers are still there, and the mothers, and okay, something in that emotionally, I have to tell you that's how I feel. I feel that because the trust that was broken then, the trust, the kind of the contract between the country and us, and basic protection and taking care of everyone, and so it feels like it's still going on because they're not back. And I have to tell you, I don't know if you saw that there's a campaign of yellow ribbons, which I actually heard that it originated in the States during the Second World War. Yellow ribbons as a token of as a remembrance or as a plea for people who are abducted or hostages or in captivity. And it says October 7th on it. So it's like, it's a feeling. It's not maybe a military reality, but it's a feeling that because they are, innocent people taken like that until they're not back, something is, we can't start to heal from everything. I know that some of our rabbis are talking about that they heard in the beginning a lot of talks of revenge from the people they were meeting, like this kind of, let's put all humanity aside, like no one in Gaza is deserving of our sympathy or and really. And as rabbis, it was hard to hear and it was hard to deal with, right? When you're giving pastoral care to someone, and what do you do? So actually in MARAM, we decided to do a study about it and try to work through that to understand, first of all, that revenge is not something, that someone else is feeling. It's always something that goes through us. It's not something that's not human, something that we all sometimes feel, not to put it on someone else and not to feel estranged to feeling, just like it's a feeling. But now we hear that this was very strong in the beginning, and now it's beginning. People are starting to change their tune a bit. People who have been impacted are starting to kind of deal with what they went through. So this is also it's a moral question, right? Maybe it's a mental question. It's an emotional question, right? So as rabbis, this is our bread and butter, right? It's not something we can never escape the reality of what people are going through, because it will always, come and it will find us through them, through us, through, the public atmosphere. So that was a very interesting viewpoint. And I will tell you, just you asked me before, like what we did. So I was talking to rabbis and seeing how they are at the beginning of the war. And they told me that some of them, that it's very hard to begin the day, to start the day. It's hard to get out of bed. It's hard, this feeling of helplessness, this feeling of what can we do, like such a big crisis. And, it's something we all go through from time to time, and of course in times of war. And so I said to myself, you know what? We are Jews. That's a good thing. We're Jews. We have the morning prayer. So I started doing like a daily morning prayer through Zoom. And I saw that these people, like I didn't tell anyone, I'm thinking about you, but I saw that these people who told me that it's hard for them, suddenly were showing up. Suddenly we're praying together. Suddenly every day we're saying, the prayer for the people who are in captive, the prayer for the soldiers, for the state of Israel. We're together in this. And we're singing a little bit in the morning, and we're, putting ourselves back into time. That's what prayer does, right? You have to know what's the Hebrew date. If there is something you need to say, like you have to be here. And so I was very, very, very happy that it did something that was needed. And it was so Jewish of us. And it was just taking care of the rabbis again through Jewish tools, right? This idea.
You're still doing that every day?
No. So after a month and a half, so we started dwindling. So I said, I guess they don't need it anymore. But every time we're meeting, we're praying together, and it's so potent. We had a meeting just last week, and it's just people need that. Rabbis love to pray with other rabbis. I don't know.
No, it's the power. It is the power of community, and given the crisis and the trauma, and it is a trauma. Even electronically, to be connected means a lot. I'm not alone. I may be, in a place that it's not my home and been relocated, but I'm not alone. So one of the questions that, I'm sure you've heard, and we hear it here. How do you, in the midst of this trauma, and the midst of all the crisis and the daily, just trying to make sense of moment to moment, how do you maintain that sense of hope?
I can tell you that as the, the executive director of MARAM, I'm saying it again and again and again. I have to tell you, I'm new in this position. I only started 6 months ago. And so I feel like I'm growing into it. And
there you are, very quickly.
So when we met last week, so we talked about two things that aren't, necessarily, agreed upon. For the one thing was the revenge study that we did, which is not easy. And the second one was a discussion about, Jews, non-Jews, I don't know what, it doesn't matter. It's political. And so we have opinions, and we have strong opinions, and we have people who are saying this and that, and someone will know, why are you that? And they're arguing and all that. And then we had to break for lunch. And I really said, you're going to have an amazing lunch. And I made sure of that. And because it's important, really. And it makes people happy. And so before that, I said, let's please gather. And I said, I know we met, and I know we argued. And I know that, we have our opinions, and it's like the most important thing that there is, because I'm so right and you are so wrong. And we know that. But you should remember that in this room, you are probably, you are the most understood, people that you are. I'll say it again. So I said to them, in this room, there are people who understand you best. And I think it's true. And for me, to understand that this community is important to rabbis, to our rabbis, this gives me hope. Because in community, you get energy from different sources, right? So it's not, so you see someone is doing something and gives you inspiration. And someone is especially rabbis, and we created a lot of liturgy. It's actually super interesting. And we have a professor at HUC Jerusalem, Rabbi Dalia Marks. So she's writing actually an article about the prayers that were written after October 7th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we had a lot of it's a burst of creativity on one hand. And then when you read it, you're like saying thank you to your colleague who managed to put into words what you're feeling. And then what you're doing with that, you're bringing it to your congregation. You're bringing it to the people you're teaching. You're bringing it to the people that, like you, feel lost and scared and don't know, when it will end and how it will look like and what's really going on, because, right, we will know more when it's done. And so I feel like this community of this professional community, but also kind of social community, is so important. And that's the way for me to give hope to our people. It's not one thing, because they are really working at answering that question themselves, right? They are trying to answer that question to their congregants. What am I talking? What will I talk about this Friday? So we have a group text, and then they help each other, and it's astounding to see. It's really like that's the best that you can give each other, right? To see each other and to help each other and to be in this together. So I see hope growing from that.
There are probably going to be people who listen to this or watch this who would like to make contact, do support. I guess the simplest way to ask this question is, how can we help you? What do you need from us?
So first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me here, because not a lot of people know this small organization that's important to the rabbis in Israel, but and I'm thankful for this opportunity to be able to tell
our
people.
Honor, believe me, our honor.
And if you want to support MARAM, you are really welcome to contribute any amount to our good work through Arza, and you will have, I know, the link right here on the screen. And you can also, you're invited to write to me. I will also give you my email so you can publish it here. And then just I think to appreciate the work of Israeli rabbis, that's really one of the most important things, because it is a big challenge, but it's a wonderful challenge. We are doing important work.
So Steve, our producer, is going to post the link. If somebody wants to contact with you, what email for you? We'll post it, but what's the email? Go ahead. It's
just rabbimaram@gmail.com. And
Rabbi Maram, MARAM, at Gmail. It's case sensitive, or
nope.
It doesn't matter. Okay. And you'll always accept cash donations, or there's a way to do that through Variety. I guess the link will show us how.
The link is, I don't know how. I think it's Arza, and it's just you pick
right, the Arza
friends of MARAM through Arza, and so it's not cash. I think it's a credit. But
that's how I did it.
Sorry.
I mean, full disclosure. You just go click and enter the information and push a click, and you're done. You're a friend.
Yeah. Yes, and choose MARAM.
Yes. Final request. What do you want to tell the American Jewish community?
Oh, wow. I think for me and for our rabbis, it is crystal clear, I think, through what we're going through in the past few months, that we are sharing a faith. We are together in this as part of the Jewish people, and I feel it very strongly that we are, interconnected. And I have to tell you that I love being like that. It really makes me. I'm very proud to be Jewish anyway, always been. But really to feel this connection so intensively. I wish it wouldn't be in these circumstances at all. I really wish. But I want us to remember this after this is done, that we are deeply connected.
Rabbi Efrat Rotem, the executive director of MARAM, thank you very, very much for giving us your time and your passion and your belief and the sharing of faith and community. We wish you just first of all, health and safety and continued success working with MARAM and our congregations in Israel. So thank you, because you're really, Efrat, doing blessed work. It's especially this time. So feel the embrace and the hug of all of us over here. And hopefully one day we'll be able to sit down and have a cup of coffee and share some stories about all this. Let us pray for that day soon, very, very soon.
Amen. Thank you very much. Toda rabba, Rabbi.
My honor. Believe me. Take care. To all of you, thank you very, very much for joining us on today's edition of Seekers of Meaning, the podcast and TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. If you'd like to connect with us, please email me at Rabbi Address at jewishsacredaging.com. Visit the website, jewishsacredaging.com, and also the Jewish Sacred Aging Facebook page. And again, if you'd like to support our work in these podcasts, on the website, there's a conveniently located donate button. You just click on that and follow those prompts. It's really, really, really easy. And while you're there, go to the Artsa and do the same thing with MARAM. Seekers of Meaning is produced at the Broadcast Center of Lubetkin Media in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And another shout out to our tech genius and producer, Steve Lubetkin. Thank you again for joining us on this very, very important conversation with MARAM and Rabbi Rotem. Again, Toda Rabba. To all of you, stay safe, stay healthy, and most of all, especially now, be kind to one another. Toda Shalom.